Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, good afternoon at the Bank of Slovenia conference on the digital euro. As digitalization is rapidly progressing, monies, payments and also financial systems are following suit. At today's event, we will explain what the Digital Euro project is all about, how it's progressing, and especially what it means for our currency. There is obviously a lot of demand for this information, according to a great number of people here in the audience, but also those who are following us over the WebEx. So I feel obliged to provide also some supply. So I'm very glad to have here my colleagues from Bank of Slovenia, experts from our central bank, but also my colleagues, fellow governors of other central banks, members of governing council, who will try to satisfy at least some of the demand you are having. So, money and payments have been digital for decades. Euro has existed in electronic form since its introduction, and for consumers, for example, as a commercial bank money. Despite that, most people have persisted to pay with cash. However, this pattern is gradually changing. Today, Europeans make most of cashless payments with credit and especially debit cards. In addition, for transactions between consumers themselves and consumers to businesses, instant payments emerged about 2 decades ago. This enabled transactions to be a matter of a few seconds, regardless of the day or the hour of the payment, which the payment is made. And besides technological progress, some external shocks played a positive role here as well. For example, pandemic provided an additional boost to contactless payments. However, instant payments are not yet the new normal and remain limited, especially for cross-border transactions. Meanwhile, the central bank money is at the moment still available to the general public only in a physical form as a cash. Providing central bank money to everyone else in digital form alongside cash could help us to ensure that our common currency, euro, will remain fit for digital age. And here I would like to mention 3 different aspects. Firstly, with the digital euro, European citizens and businesses would be able to make and receive instant digital payments throughout the euro area free of charge. Digital euro could be used for purchases in physical shop, for online purchases, as well as transfers to other individuals. And also with digital euro, it would be possible to pay like with any other digital payment method with an internet connection, but we also strive to make offline payments available. Just to emphasize, such an universal pan-European payment method is not yet available to consumers at the moment. Then secondly, launching a digital euro would also increase competition in the digital payments markets, enhance the overall efficiency and reduced costs in payment systems. At least that is our intention at the moment. And third aspect, very important one for us central bankers, is that with the digital euro we would strengthen the monetary sovereignty of the euro area and at the same time preserve the effectiveness of our policy, that is of monetary policy. Taken all together, the digitalization of public money seems to be rather a necessity than merely an opportunity. At this point, readiness is a key concept for us. That's why today, the vast majority of central banks around the globe are considering their own digital currencies. And after the euro system recently completed the first phase, the investigation phase, we have just embarked on the preparation phase. Therefore, we do not have all the answers yet, but we are keeping up to be prepared if or when the time comes for its introduction. To share with you the findings of our work done so far and also to address some open issues and questions, I invited my dear colleagues, governors from Croatia, Estonia, Lithuania, Malta and Slovakia to share our knowledge and views on the digital euro. But before we move to the panel discussion, let me give the floor to my colleague from the Bank of Slovenia, Simon Anko, director responsible for the Digital Europe project at the Bank of Slovenia, to set the scene. What we have achieved so far and what are the dilemmas we are faced with. Thank you.
Thank you for this introduction. Really, my role is to set the stage on the question, what do we already know about the digital euro? Quite some questions may already be answered, but not all of them. The most obvious one is, of course, not only with the general public, but also with us. Why do we need one? Why do we need a digital euro? Three main answers could be offered here. The first one may look quite complex, but knowing that today 130 central banks around the globe, representing 98% of global GDP, are already exploring their CBDCs, it means something. There has to be something why they are doing this. And this something in this case is that we pay more and more in a digital way. Cash, usage of cash as payments is slowly but steadily declining. So this could have an important impact on one important role of the central bank money, which is a monetary anchor. Maybe a term most of you hear for the first time, so I will try to explain it. People's confidence, people's trust in private money is always supported by its convertibility in the most safe form of money, which is central bank money. And today, central bank money is offered to the general public only in a physical form, as cash, physical banknotes, and also coins. We have to keep pace with the development of digitalization. So we are having responsibility to offer central bank money, a claim on the central bank money, on the central banks, also in a digital age. And this is very important for us. Another answer could be strategic autonomy. Today, the global payments market for digital solutions is dominated by a few players. These few players benefit from economies of scale. These providers benefit from the network effects. And of course, what is important for us, most of them is not headquartered in the EU. So this way, we risk our independence in the field of payments, in the field of our payment systems. So digital euro would be a truly European payment solution, a digital payment solution for a digital age. And it could very importantly underpin our strategic autonomy. This is the second reason. And of course, it would add to resilience. How and why? Being alternative payment option, being one more choice for all the payers, for all the stakeholders, it would add to choice. It would also be important in, let's say, times of emergencies, of outages, especially when offered also with an offline feature. Another very important feature that digital euro could offer if once issued. And of course, we cannot pass economic efficiency. It is very important as well. As I have mentioned, this would be an alternative payments option, giving more choice. Giving more choice also means bigger, higher competition in the payments market. And it will make also our lives, our daily lives, more simplified. Why? Because as today with cash, with physical cash, we can pay the same way in every Euro country. Physical cash also has a status of legal tender, and the same should go with the digital cash, digital euro. So these are the three main reasons why we are exploring the digital euro. How far have we come? It has not started in October 2021 when we started the investigation phase. It has started much earlier. Back in 2017, we have started to develop some studies on possibilities to issue a CBDC in Euro area, which have culminated in the already famous report on digital euro we have offered in October 2020. And from then on, we have started an official project. The investigation phase only had an intention to investigate on the possibilities to how the digital euro should look like, what can we do, why do we use it, and why do we need it, of course. We have collaborated with different stakeholders in the market, but not only in the market, also with the institutional stakeholders, because it is not to be our own product, but we want the stakeholders to use it actually once if issued. The main results of this investigation phase were high-level design of digital euro, high-level description we also call it. It means that we already have quite a clear idea how it should look like. And of course related user and technical specifications which are necessary to work on in the phases that follow. We have also successfully devised a prototype of digital euro, so we have kind of assurance that it may function in reality. And the main conclusion was that it is possible to develop a digital euro that would serve the needs of end users in the euro area, but also that would meet requirements of the euro system. In October this year, the Governing Council of the ECB has decided that we should advance with the project, that we should further explore the digital euro. Focus of this phase that would again last for 2 years should be on finalizing the digital euro scheme rulebook. It means describing all the features of the digital euro, not only for us, but also for banks, for other stakeholders, and to select providers that could build the back-end infrastructure for the single currency in a digital form. This way, we will lay foundations for a potential issuance of digital euro. It means that we have to be ready because time to market is quite long, as you can see. But I have to stress that entering this phase by no means means that we have decided to issue digital euro. It is also another phase when we want to prepare ourselves. How would it look like? Yes, we already have some basic ideas, but not only basic, but we will proceed with the description and development. It should be public money, of course, and we like to refer to it as digital cash. It will be just like cash, with many features of cash, but in digital age. It would be a claim on the central bank money, on the central bank, and it means that it would be risk-free, as cash today. It should have also a legal tender status, meaning that we, if once digital euro is issued, all the population will be able to use it as cash today, almost everywhere, with no limits. But we will not be able to force people use digital euro. There will be no power for us to force people use it, so it has to have an excellent user experience. People will need to want to use it. It would have to be attractive. And of course, it will be available in all the domains. P2P, e-commerce, payments in physical stores, and payments of government. The preferred option to offer it would be an application on your smartphone. As we pay with some foreign solutions at the moment, but for those who do not have a smartphone or do not want to use it, also a physical card will be available. Resilience will be offered not only by being an additional payment solution, giving more choice, but also it would be available as one of the first or even the first one digital solution in an offline mode without internet connection. Privacy is very important for us, so we call digital euro to have privacy by design. Privacy is fundamental human right, and we respect it completely. So minimum set of personal data will be collected in processing digital euro payments, and for offline payments, the level of privacy will be even more similar to cash. We do not want to challenge the financial stability by offering digital euro. We do not want commercial banks to be disintermediated, so holding limits will be introduced. It will not be unlimited amount of digital euro one could have. It will be limited. We have not set the limit yet, but it would be, according to current estimations, about a few thousand euros. It should remain means of payments. It should not be an investment tool for private persons. And of course, it would be free for basic use by consumers, as cash is today. So basic use means payments, uploading, downloading, and so on. It should also offer benefits, not only for consumers, also for merchants and for intermediaries. For consumers, it will be additional option to pay, giving them more choice, giving them a pan-euro area solution to pay instantly, which is not available at the moment, 24/7, and also offline. It should preserve cash-like features. As we refer to it as a digital cash, of course, it should preserve cash-like features. And it should go even further than cash go today, to e-commerce and to remote P2P payments. Today it is impossible to pay to another physical person remotely unless you send it by post some cash. And we do not want to leave anyone behind. It is important for us that we take into account the needs of all the groups of population. We do not want to leave behind the unbanked population, people with disabilities, people who have some limited digital skills. Everybody should be on board if he or she would want to. Benefits for merchants. Again, the payment solution offered by Digital Euro will be immediately, from the very beginning, pan-euro area. So it will be standardized as cash is today, no national specificities, and it would be very easy for merchants to accept Digital Euro. So having additional choice by consumers and having the status of legal tender, merchants will have a stronger negotiating power for accepting other means of payments, and it should add to efficiency, to lower costs also for merchants. And to add on, instant receipt is not a standard today. It should become a new norm, but it is not that way today. Intermediaries, banks, payment institutions, and e-money institutions, they may be those who are the most afraid of Digital Euro. What does it bring? What will it mean for them? But I have to stress that they will have a key role in distribution. It will not be us, the NCBs, distributing Digital Euro. It would be banks, payment institutions, e-money institutions. In some cases, also public authorities will help people for onboarding. And it will offer immediate reach throughout the euro area. As I have mentioned, also for fintech companies, for banks, it will be very much easy to build on digital euro some innovative payment solutions and to offer them immediately from the day one, euro area wide. It is not possible today with domestic national solutions. What's the way forward? I have said that now we have a mandate to continue our work until October 2025, and after 2 years, meaning just October 2025, the Governing Council will again discuss where did we come to the way forward and whether we will advance with the project. So we go step by step with no final decision taken yet. And to stress at the very end, the decision to issue a digital euro will heavily depend or completely depend on the result of the legislative process. End of June this year, the European Commission has published a proposal for a regulation on the establishment of a digital euro. And it would be a legislator to give us the power to be able to have a possibility for the ECB and Euro system to issue a digital euro, if then we decide that we need one. So this is the way forward. This was a very short technical briefing on where we are, what is at stake, what have we already done. So I thank you for your attention, and now I give the floor to Mr. Pahor.
Dame in gospodje, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, it is with great pleasure and anticipation that I welcome you to the panel discussion on digital euro, the central bank digital currency of the euro system. As you've seen just now, the digital euro would embody the convergence of technology and finance, and it would open the door to innovative offers for consumers, businesses, and challenges to the policymakers alike. Throughout today's discussion, we will try to delve into the intricate web of design, regulatory, and societal aspects that are woven into the fabric of the digital euro project. We will try to explore this European initiative that could offer an effect on the everyday payments, bolster digital financial inclusion, improve resilience on payment system, and much more than that. We have assembled a distinguished panel of guests, governors from 6 Eurosystem central banks, each with its unique insights and perspectives, to guide us through these discussions to better understand this groundbreaking project and its potential to shape the future of the European currency, which is the euro. So now I'd like to invite, in alphabetical order, to join me first Peter Kažimír, from Governor of Národna Banka Slovenska, Madis Müller, Governor of Eesti Pank, Scicluna, Governor of the Central Bank of Malta, Gediminas Šimkus, Governor of Lietuvos bankas, Boris Vujčić, Governor of Hrvatska Narodna banka, and last but not least, our own Boštjan Vasle, Governor of Banka Slovenije. So, welcome, please. So, dear panelists, warm welcome. To start, now even that some countries, well, admittedly, mostly some quite exotic ones, already have live digital currency, a detailed look shows that the euro system is actually the furthest ahead in thinking and designing the digital currency. So, in your opinion, what are the key reasons that Europe is at the forefront of the central bank digital currencies? So maybe, Governor Kažimír, would you want to start?
I must say that, we are just after the preparation or preparatory phase, you know, so during this time I think we were searching the answer to the Hamlet's question, to be or not to be. And the answer is quite clear that we just decided in favor of to go on with that, you know, so definitely this issue is quite complicated. It's not easy just even to understand, you know, but we are looking for the pan-European solution, which is able to be in line to cope with cutting-edge technologies, to support our competitiveness in global payment system, to increase our resilience. I think here from various angles we will see maybe it's a reasoning, because, you know, in Baltic countries that could mean something different than in South Europe. What does it mean, the resilience here? And of course we would like to meet also the requirements of the new generation, you know. So because we you know, it's happy to complain about the youngsters, you know. So but it's quite normal, you know, that the elderly people are complaining that the youngsters do not understand us, or the opposite, vice versa. Honestly, in my personal view, you know, so I'm maybe less enthusiastic about the end game now because it's not clear yet. I would be cautiously optimistic on the other side about it, how we are able to explain people, you know, that this is something which is not going to breach the privacy, there's something which is not going to threat, you know, the financial stability, which we are in charge of that, you know. So that's something which is which definitely would be another option, because, you know, we are human beings, you know. So this is up to us. This is option. This is only option, which is, I think, totally in line with technologies which we see, and also in the competition which is going on in the world.
Okay, thank you. So, was mentioned resilience. What does it mean, resilience, for the Baltic countries? Maybe governors, Müller, Šimkus.
First of all, thank you for having me here in Ljubljana at this event. I think, first of all, as we heard from the presentation, there's still quite a way to go until we actually have digital euro, and until the ECB also decides to issue euro in a new format. But nevertheless, a number of years already, the ECB and the national central banks in the euro area have been working on it, and I think it's good time to have a discussion already on where we stand. Specifically on resilience, indeed, that is among the issues that were highlighted also in the first presentation as the reasons why one could consider a digital euro in the first place. For me, at least, this is the aspect that perhaps I consider most important. Since you asked about the Baltics specifically, so I have to say, now being next to Russia, for the whole Estonian society in the several past years, there has been a lot of focus on increasing the resilience of our public sector, the economy more broadly, being prepared for all kinds of crisis situations and interruptions in different kinds of services, including, for example, interruptions in the payment methods that we have right now. So I guess also in Slovenia probably you have experienced the situation when a card payment occasionally doesn't work because there's a problem with the data connection that the operator or the merchant is having. So that's something, that's a scenario where it would be helpful, in addition to cash, also in the future when people are using less and less physical cash, also have another alternative that we could be confident that works. So that's just one aspect when it comes to resilience.
Yeah, thank you. Governor Šimkus.
Thank you, and thank you for invitation to this very nice event. I mean, it's wonderful to see such a beautiful and big audience listening to Digital Euro. You asked about question, and actually you asked before why Europe is at the front of, and I think this is very relevant question. And when you refer to resilience, it's not only about the Baltics, but I would say it's about our single market as well. So, for instance, according to the ECB staff, around 70% of European card payment transactions are handled by non-European payment-related service providers. 70%. It's a big portion, and for me, the first important reason, and also referring to the issue of resilience, is that Digital Euro contributes to the European Open Strategic Autonomy Initiative, ensuring security of payments as of the same importance as, for instance, food or energy. So nobody who is in their right mind now questions liquid natural gas terminals needs. But payments is the blood of our financial system. And Digital Euro, for me, is first of all is a very good measure to make sure we secure of our payment industry. The second thing, and it's also about, I would say, resilience, and it's also about why we need in Europe, in Euro area, Digital Euro, is that European payment market is dominated by a few big players. And I also referred to some interesting statistics before. And I would say this truly European payment solution is a step to the right direction to, so to say, to create a better market entry for our players. And second, we are living in the world as it is. It's the era of digitalization. And this direction is very high in the agenda of European Union, so to say, progress and thinking and movement. So it very, very well concurs with this as well. So, yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. I did mention earlier that some countries, well, it was mentioned that there's 130 central banks doing this research, and some exotic countries like the Bahamas and so on, they have already issued such a currency. But there was a lot of talks about Sweden and the digital krona, e-krona, they were calling it. So maybe a little, stay a little bit, yeah, please.
Well, yeah, you are correct. There are about more than 100 central banks around the world, interested in doing serious research and so on. But I don't think it's a question of who comes first. It's whether we answer the basic questions. Why should central banks interfere in this in the first place? I mean, I could see young people in 4 years' time. Let's say we should digital and say, "Look, we're going to do this and this." They look at us and say, "What's so special? We've been doing this for years." So there must be other reasons why, and we have to test them, to see the impact on the economy. Because finally, okay, in terms of efficiency, I think the private sector out there with the technology and so on, I think they will be able to answer in terms of efficiency. So that's not really the basic reason. I mean, we want to have more reasons for why we should interfere, because we can regulate nobody would downplay the need of the government or a public authority or the central bank to regulate. So, but we're not about regulating, but you become an operator, and go and compete, actually, in this business. But we have to find out whether we're going to add, where it comes to financial stability, whether we will have more investor protection, whether we can use a system which, while maintaining privacy, be more trustworthy in containing and protecting against illicit activities, And more importantly, as central banks, I mean, let's hope it will not weaken our monetary policy and the transmission mechanism. So it's up to us to design. That's why it needs to take time. We shouldn't rush. We have to ensure that the way it's designed, it will aid, if anything, monetary policy and because it's not just a medium of exchange. You know, I mean, from barter we went to money, and you know, it's always sovereign thing, which had sort of the property. But we have developed such a sophisticated system, and for monetary policy, and it's an important tool for nudging the economy to create jobs and provide financial stability, price and financial stability.
Well, thank you. If we now take a slightly different view, so from the view of the common customers, so the common people. So what we did in preparation for this meeting, we went on the streets of Ljubljana and asked some people about their payment habits and their knowledge of the digital euro. Let's have a look at the video.
Moj zadnji nakup sem plačala s kartico.
Moj zadnji nakup sem plačala z gotovino.
Plačal sem ga z kartico.
S kartico.
Z gotovino.
S kartico sem plačala moj zadnji.
Svoj zadnji nakup sem plačala z gotovino.
S kartico ali pa z gotovino.
Najpogosteje plačujem s kartico.
Najpogosteje plačujem pa za kartico. S kartico.
Kartično.
Najpogosteje plačujem s kartico.
Najpogosteje plačujem s kreditno kartico.
Z gotovino.
V resnici pri tem načinu plačevanja nimam nobenih pripomb.
Nič me ne moti. Zelo mi je všeč.
Če pogrešam, da ni povsod možno plačevanje s kartico.
Ne, samo včasih pač je fajn, če imam nekaj druža.
Ne.
Pri tem načinu plačevanja me nič ne moti.
Ne, nič me ne moti, da bi.
V resnici nisem še slišala za digitalni evro.
Nisem še slišala.
Ja.
Sem pa pravzaprav ne vem, kaj je to.
To sem nekaj slišal v zadnjem času. Ja.
Ne. Za digitalni evro nisem še slišala.
Ja, sem slišala, ampak se ne strinjam. Najrajši imam gotovino.
Zdi se mi, da je to neka digitalna valuta.
Ja, v bistvu verjetno je to kot neka gotovina, ampak digitalna.
Digitalna valuta, katera je vezana na vrednost evra v danem trenutku.
Podobno kot kartični sistem, ne? Samo da je to preko digitalizacije. No?
Mogoče kak nov način plačevanja?
Pod tem pojmom si predstavljam plačevanje s kreditno kartico.
Ja, da nič ne bi znarjem, pa tudi sem s karticama, ne? Ja.
So we could see from the video that people on the streets are quite happy with their payment possibilities, and well, also for now the recognition of the digital euro is quite low. Maybe since this was in Slovenia, maybe Governor Vasle, would you like to have some comments on this?
Yeah, thank you. I think that the results, the answers we heard are not surprising to any of us, because these are basically the questions we are facing when we are talking about the Digital Euro project, or these are basically the reasons why we started it. On one side, we are aware that with the Digital Euro, we are not solving a very obvious problem, which is out there. We heard that people are paying digitally already now, that they are satisfied with the current methods, and they are not very familiar with the digital euro process. But at the same time, we are well aware that we are living in an increasingly digitalized world, and we as a central bankers have to react to that. And there are basically two set of reasons for entering the project. And the first reasons are coming from the inside. They are the result of our deliberations on monetary policy, on payment systems, and we are observing some trends. For example, the payments with cash is on the decline. There is an increasing demand for digital payment solutions, and also there is a need to modernize monetary policy to make it fit for the current environment. Then, on the other hand, we have second set of reasons, of motivating factors, which are coming from external world for us, and that is that the fact is that many, if not all, major central banks are involved in this project. So in order not to lose the edge, not to lose the ability to react, to be part of the modern monetary system, we have to respond. And the best way to respond is to start your own project. Then, of course, there are also initiatives which are raised outside the monetary system, private initiatives, and probably the best known was Libra. And of course, we must be honest, part of the reasons why we started the Euro Area project is this pressure coming from the private sector. And of course, our own concerns not being left behind.
Thank you. Governor Vujčić, so Croatia is now nearly 1 year in the Euro area. If we would go now on the streets of Croatia and do a similar interview, would we get similar answers or different?
I would get pretty much similar answers. People would, if you look at the overall transactions in Croatia, most are still in cash in terms of the number of transactions, but in terms of the value, most are with cards. But people use both. People would not see any problems in using any of these two types of transactions, so they would be happy with it, and they would not know much about the digital euro, so you would get pretty much the same answers. Now, it's like for them, I think that they will not see much of a benefit as consumers, as end consumers, once the digital euro will be introduced. But still, there might be some. I mean, let's say you don't have a unified kind of European payment solution, which is in a way free of charge. It can be used by everyone. Imagine you have, I don't know, Boštjan, Gediminas, and myself in Germany during the next European Football Cup, and we're having beer in a bar, and we decide to go and watch Croatia-Italy match. So we have to pay for the beer. We want to go Dutch way because we've learned that from class not to split the bill, and then we want to buy tickets online. So basically all that can be easily done, but not with one payment solution. We can do the point of sale payment there with a card, which would be Master or Visa, which is not a pan-European solution, and it's not instant payment. We can split the bill. Now, if we do it electronically, it's complicated because we probably don't have an account in the same bank, so we have to do some SEPA credit transfer, which is not free, more complicated, not instant, or we can pull out the cash and give cash to whoever paid the bill. And then we have to go online and purchase again. Now you can do it through the PayPal, you can do it through the card, credit transfer. You have various possibilities. But once you have a digital euro, you can do all three of that with a digital euro as a pan-European payment solution. So in that sense, there will be a benefit for the final consumer. We can pay there, we can split the bill offline, one mobile phone to another, and we can do the purchase of of the tickets through the digital euro. And on top of that, as it was said in the beginning, this platform will also enable all providers of the payment services to innovate and offer new and better ways of payment services, which will certainly be used once the digital euro is there. As you probably know, there have been before attempts to create a pan-European payment solution among the banks, European banks, but they could never agree. They had few rounds of negotiations, so they could never agree. Now they will have it. No? And so they could also build on that. So in the end, I think that the, except for this resilience, strategic autonomy that we've heard, end users will also see some benefits that they cannot see still today.
Well, thank you. You've presented one of the best use cases that I've heard so far about the digital euro, and I think most of us can really relate to this example. Governor Šimkus, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, actually I was very carefully listening to the answers of respondents, and the second question was on which measure you think you mostly use. And the most of the answers, basically all except one, was that I typically use electronic payments. The first question, what was your last purchase? And I would say it was a split 50-50 by cash and by electronic payment. I'm not sure how this, you put this little video like being representative of the Slovenian society, but I think it's more or less representative of idea that we think about ourselves as a digitalized persons and societies, but we still use a lot of cash. And I think this is what digital euro is about. It's cash plus, cash premium, but it's something digital and something cash. And then we should ask ourselves, what makes this digital means of payment as a cash? An offline solution, I think, is a critical thing to be or to become it as a cash. Also privacy, of course, and widespread use. But this offline solution, so you provided an example of bill split, but we don't have mountains in Lithuania. And I learned that the highest mountains in Slovenia is about 3,000 meters above the sea level. Maybe there is internet there, I don't know. But if I'm there, and if I don't have cash to pay, you know, for someone to bring me down because I'm not able to climb back, down, I would like to have means of payment. And I would say, digital euro could be a very good means of payment, because one of the biggest phobias now is to stay without mobile phones. So basically we bring our mobile phones everywhere. So basically we would have cash, or form of cash, digital form of cash, everywhere. I'm saying all this just to illustrate that digital euro is a supplementary means of payment. It's not replacing the cash. It's supplementary. It coexists with cash, with like ordinary payments, with checks, with coins and banknotes. It's supplementary, not replacing.
Okay, thank you. Governor Müller, you wanted to add something?
Just also to react to the video and maybe the comments of the colleagues. I'm sorry, I cannot really disagree with anything. That's the problem with this panel. but maybe I can add another comment or perspective. First of all, I think it's a good thing also listening to or watching the video from the streets of Ljubljana, and I think that's the experience we have in Estonia as well, that people in general are quite happy with the payment options that are available now. But at the same time, we know that there's a shift in terms of preferences. In Estonia, for example, we have had questionnaires according to which it's about 10% of the people who prefer cash as the primary means of payment, and it has been in a decline over the years. And in a way, it's also a sort of a fundamental question for the central bank, whether we should be providing widely used central bank issued currency that people can use on a daily basis, also in the future when the use of cash is going perhaps becoming even less widespread. So in that sense, digital euro would just be a sort of an evolution of the cash as we know it now, but I think it's really important also to emphasize, and that's part of the legislative proposal of the European Commission as well, that we are not talking about disappearance of the cash as we know it, because the digital cash, digital euro would just be another option. As central bankers, I think all of us, we want to also have the traditional cash still as an alternative there in the future. But in the situation where it's inevitably used less and less, we could use an alternative also for those people who prefer an electronic version of the same euro.
Right, thank you. Yeah, as you addressed, and it was seen. So it was seen from the video, and maybe it was not even so representative, because in reality, like in Slovenia, 2/3 of the payments are made in cash on the points of sale. So Slovenian people really love their cash, and one of the greatest fears is that, you know, with the introduction of, you know, digital payments, with more options for digital payments, cash, you know, will soon disappear. And then there's even a move right now going on in Slovenia to write the right for the cash into the constitution. But there are other examples like that. So what's your opinion? So clearly we don't want to remove cash, but
just listening to Madis, I think it's we can see how the Europe is colorful. But in this case, we are very similar with. You use the Slovenski cesta. I know that in Slovenia, what does it mean? Something different, but I think it's we are also very keen on cash, you know. And yes, according to reporting, I think the Slovakia ranked first in the share of population reporting keep extra cash on hand as a store of value. I'm quite surprised with that. Maybe it's channeled to the low quality of public institutions. I don't know what it means, but what's true that it has been changed, you know, because it's something was in pre-COVID times, and it's really radically changed. Because just talking about the figures, in 2019 the use of cash in Slovakia dominated with 54%, but nowadays it's 57%. So almost 60% is on electronic side, you know. So you see this shift. What I would like to also say that in my country, you know, thanks to the size of the country, territory, and number of population, we were used as a laboratory for the bank groups, you know. So for example, in with using of you know, the telephone payments or contactless payments are extremely popular, you know. So, and then you see that conservative nation in these terms can be very flexible in adopting new technologies. And back to your survey, you know. So there was one lady, and she responded that, I know nothing about the digital euro, but I do not agree. I don't like it, you know. And the next response was that would be the replacement of cash. So, and this is it's quite normal, you know. So the reaction that something new is suspicious, and can be, you know, the people can be reluctant to that, you know. So,
yeah, right.
Hopefully we can change this. This is, I think it's, and thank you, Boštjan, having us here in pre-Christmas time as a gift, hopefully. Also, but I have to appreciate also your effort on that issue, because it's important.
Yeah, people are always afraid of change. They are afraid of things they don't know. Staying a little bit more on cash. Yeah, Maltese people also, they love their cash. So.
Yeah, I mean, whether the people are using cash, as you're saying, or already on digital payments by cards and so on. And my colleagues have all given very convincing reasons why the digital euro makes sense. And they are the best replies we can have at the moment. But I still think that we're going to be very disappointed if we're expecting the people to understand what's so special about the digital euro. Because from their end, they're not going to see a lot of change. You know, people who are using cards already doing it. I think the real reason are very hard to explain. In fact, rather than explaining them, and from my own experience, I compare them to what happened in the computer age and how it developed. It's like yesterday, but it's 45 years ago, where we had mainframe computers as big as this room, and blue chip companies were using them. It's only when the technology was changing and there was the hope that one could miniaturize them and put them on a desktop. And there was a race for that. And IBM was the system standard for computers in the world globally. And it wasn't raised like with them. So, but it was slow in coming and developing. And there were so many small computers. Nowadays we call them PlayStation, because standalone, you know, you play a game and so on, but they were computers. But they didn't have the standard. They were not respected like IBM. So everybody was waiting for IBM to come out with the desktop system, which it did later in the mid-80s. And you know, gave them to a young person down the road called Bill Gates to write up a short program called the operating system, and they come out and they were, you know, very heavy. I'll just give you an example. Nowadays we don't even use mouse because we use our fingers on the screen. But at that time one had to use a mouse to move the cursor along the screen. And I ordered one of the third one in my country to order this IBM, and they came the mouse, and the guidebook for the mouse was this thick. all because the IBM were engineers, and the way they thought more explaining the mathematics and the engineering, well, for the user it was not important. It was a question of moving and seeing the cursor move around the screen. So you could see the mentality. So much so that although they set up a system, now the same here, you need a standard system you trust, and it cannot be in the private sector, you know, at least as a platform, well-regulated, permanent, risk-free, and which everybody trusts. And they can connect, you know. Since then there were two systems, one the Apple with Steve Jobs and the other one in Microsoft. One was open, the other one was closed. And we need a platform where the private sector could link and develop apps for them. We don't even know today what they can come up tomorrow on them. But you need that system, and that system is the digital euro.
Well, thank you. I love the analogy with the development of the computers. While you were discussing this, I remembered this story that back in the 70s there was this discussion about how many computers are there necessary in the world, you know, so do we need 4 or is 3 enough, you know, and it was a serious discussion about it, that we just need a few mainframes, and then, you know, all the revolution with PCs happened, and everyone had a computer, and several one of them, and now we're moving back, actually, with the computers. We're moving back to the cloud, and maybe, you know, in a few years we'll just, you know, have a few clouds. So not even the computers. So maybe this will be the move here. But what would that mean for the monetary policy? So, for example, the digital currencies of central banks. So will they mean something for the monetary policy, or not necessarily? Yeah, maybe.
For the monetary policy, well, the way we're looking at the digital euro now is really for retail, as a solution for retail payments. So the way that I look at it, it doesn't really have a sort of a direct implication to the way that the central bank conducts monetary policy, in the sense that most likely the holdings of digital euro will not be earning interest. it's really for payments, it's not for investments. Oh, sorry. There will be a limit. We can discuss about that perhaps later in greater detail, but the idea is that you should not have tens and hundreds of thousands of euros of your savings in a digital euro format. That could create problems for the banking system if people start withdrawing money from their bank account suddenly and move it to the digital euro wallet for whatever reason. So it's really more for payments, and because of that, it's less of a monetary policy issue, from at least the way I see it. Perhaps colleagues have a different view.
Maybe to add just one thought. For example, this digital euro and influence on the monetary policy is a typical problem we central bankers or policy makers in general are faced with. Namely, there are risks and consequences on both sides. So if we do nothing, this will not go on without consequences. And at the same time, if we decide on something, this will also have consequences. So what is on this side of doing nothing? Now, if we will not follow suit and go on with the digital euro project, then we might be cornered in a way into a position when the dominant role of the central bank and the central role of central banks will be diminished, and as a consequence, monetary policy will not be so effective anymore. So there certainly are big risks if we do not react. Then, on the other hand, if we do react, of course, there are big chances that something will go wrong. So that's why we are so careful with each and every step we are doing. We just finished the first phase, which lasted for 2 years. We entered the second one, additional 2 years, and we know that we might enter the third one for additional 2 years before we will start to think about the implementation. And of course, if we will decide for digital euro, then there are many questions how this will affect the monetary policy, how it will affect our instruments, interest rate policy, how it will affect financial stability. But as I said, we will be faced with questions and issues on both sides of the curve.
Well, thank you. Would you like to? Yeah, please.
It will have plus and minuses, and it's up to us to decide, because we're still designing it. So it's up to us. And as Boštjan said, I mean, at least it's in our hands and not in the private sector's hands to decide. So that's important. But the problem is that for it to be sort of, it doesn't change that much, neutral. You start cutting, pruning here and so on, that you make it, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but you make it so limited. So you put a cap. You cannot have a store of value. It cannot, we wouldn't like to go into wholesale, but just to retail and so on. And you know, in that case, how is it going to compete? You know, will there be a demand for it after all? So these are very difficult decisions. How relevant you want it for the user, but at the same time, then you are prepared that the transmission mechanism is not impaired and that you have instruments enough, you know, especially when rates are quite low, for example. You know, there are so many ifs and buts and conditions, and that's why the ECB needs another 2 years at least, you know, and it needs a lot of testing and impact, because this is a very serious thing to go about.
Well, thank you. You both addressed the potential impact on the financial system and the stability of the financial system. And yeah, when designing the digital euro, we are really paying a lot of attention to not endanger the stability of the financial system. And we are quite aware that, you know, getting the banks and other financial intermediaries on board is one of the key success factor, of not the most important key success factor for the launch of digital euro. So just to set a stage for the perspective of financial institutions, we did ask the CEO of the European Banking Federation, Wim Meis, for a short statement regarding the industry position on the digital euro. So let's have a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, I very much thank Banka Slovenije for your invitation to say a few words about the digital euro from a bank's perspective, and of course I'm honored to accept this invitation. Your event is very timely given the ongoing discussion on the digital euro legislation and the start of the preparation phase by our European Central Bank. And also the title of the event, Digital Euro Cash Meets Technology, is very telling and sets the major challenge of any CBDC project: how to integrate central bank money to the digital age, and what implications will it have to banks and to payment systems that we currently have. As the European banking sector, we understand that the ECB, as many other central banks in the world, should explore the role of an increasingly digitalized economy. How would a central bank's role be impacted if new developments, such as stablecoins, would have the potential to change the current monetary and payment systems, as well as the transmission of monetary policy, after all? What can the impact of other central banks' digital currencies have within our own jurisdiction? And aside from these, in Europe, the question of increased strategic autonomy in the area of payments is a long-standing ambition that is yet to fully materialize. The digital euro is seen by the authorities to finally bring about a European payment solution that would ensure increased competition and resilience, and hence would achieve the objective of strategic autonomy. As European banks, we of course support a future digital economy where Europe has a strong, resilient, innovative and competitive payments and digital asset ecosystem. What we need is the enhanced European strategic autonomy to bring it to us, so there we all agree. However, we encourage that the digital project is thoroughly analyzed in all its implications before moving forward. Let me mention a few areas of study that we really need to do. First, the digital euro could have major unintended consequences for financial stability, for financing the European economy, and for competitiveness of European banks. As we know, banks currently depend greatly on deposits from households for their funding. If parts of those deposits were to move to a digital euro holdings, which are not on the bank's balance sheet, this would impact the funding base and inevitably the lending capacity of banks. A very low fixed holding limit and a robust government of this could mitigate such a negative impact. Second, the balance of powers between the ECB or the euro system and the market has to be ensured. The market is best placed to develop customer-facing solutions, and the digital euro should act as a raw material that enables European market participants to build competitive and innovative payment solutions. We see room for recalibration in this respect, looking at the current state of the product, where an extensive rule book for a payment system is being developed currently by the ECB. And lastly, the economic impact of the digital euro on the banking business has to be analyzed, and digital euro intermediaries need to be assured that there will be an economically viable business model for digital euro distribution. Without this, we do not create the conditions at all for a successful digital euro ecosystem where all parties have the incentives to participate and to improve. All these issues, and many of the issues that I was not able to mention in this short time, will need to be debated and they will need to be tackled. We also need to be ensured that solutions brought forward are effective in achieving the joint objectives, that they are cost efficient, and that they have a positive market impact on the European economy. Users and the financial sector will need to be assured of this to make it a success. The legislative proposal is a crucial step in ensuring that the digital euro project is subject to a robust and healthy public debate. Thank you very much.
So we have seen that the industry is generally supportive, but they are expressing several concerns, mainly regarding the compensation model, and there was a big concern in that, that the introduction of digital euro will lead in the decrease of the deposits, which are vital for the banks. Yeah, please, Governor Vujčić.
Yeah. Well, these are all legitimate and valid concerns. I was recently in London talking to 300 commercial bankers on the topic of digital euro, and I've heard all these arguments in different formats. But let's take only these three, which are the key ones, of course, since the beginning of the project. I would say that these three arguments have been taken into account by the ECB as a designer of the digital euro already. And the same concerns have actually been voiced already by us as a central bankers from the time of the inception of the idea of the digital euro. Of course, we immediately thought about the financial stability, possible impact, possibility of the run on the bank through digital euro, etc. So if you look at the current design, it has taken these concerns already seriously. So there is an envisaged limit to the holdings of the digital euro with a reverse waterfall system on the account, so you can use it basically as a payment means, but not as a store of a value, not as a means for a run on the bank. And also there has been an agreement among us for the time being, certainly, that there will be no remuneration of the deposits that will be held in the electronic wallets where the digital euro will be. So that should then tackle this first concern. On the second one, I think we already said, yes, the idea is for the digital euro to serve as an innovation platform for the banks and any other payment system providers to build on it and to innovate and to offer new products. So that is also our idea, and that should improve the attractiveness of the digital euro. And the third one that is also, I would say, well taken on board. We are very well aware of it, but has not been discussed yet in details, and there's the compensation model. But it will certainly come on the table in the future stages of development of the digital euro, and we'll certainly have to take into account the concerns that we've heard here.
Yeah, you're right. In the ample documentation that's already available on digital euro, there's only a placeholder for now on the compensation model. So this will be a big discussion in the next few years.
I just would like to add that what we have heard is, I think that was a diplomatic language, you know. But honestly, in my view, okay, just to be a very polite diplomatic language, but they are not pleased with this project. This is my humble opinion. So they are not happy because the digital euro meant anything but not the business as usual, you know, for them, you know. So and it means the shift in the mind, in business model, you know. And it's I must say that somewhere in the past, you know, there was also maybe idea to go on with digital euro without the banks, you know, but we refuse to do it, you know. So they must be intermediaries, and they will play the important role, definitely. But as Boris has said, you know, all these concerns are legitimate, and we have to tackle this, you know, and we will face it, because the financial stability, this is our, you know, this is our duty, you know. So we have to look after it.
Yeah.
just to add to what Boris and Peter already said, first of all, I think I understand that digital euro, it can create some problems to the business as usual sort of model of the banking that we have today. Of course, we are trying to address those concerns that were mentioned, but I think it's also dangerous to consider business as usual as the only alternative scenario that we have. And I think there's also a risk that in the future you may have new different forms of payment that people start preferring, offered by, I don't know, Googles and Facebooks and Amazons, and they're moving away from the traditional banks, in which case it's also in the interest of the banks to have an alternative that works better in such a digital environment. And of course, especially as the banks are still the ones that are holding and will be holding the customer relationship and can offer all sorts of additional services that use digital euro, it is also in the bank's interest to maintain this, to have digital euro as a way to sort of help maintaining the customer relationships. And if I may just come back to your previous question on the impact on monetary policy, now that I thought about it, of course I agree what Boštjan and the others said as well, but thinking of the impact that digital euro could have on the banking sector, the impact could also differ for different banks, and probably banks that are more reliant on deposits in their funding as opposed to market-based funding, and who have more customers with smaller deposits, are perhaps most vulnerable in the case where many of the existing customers decide to move some of their deposits to a digital wallet. So it means that they feel it relatively more in terms of a decline in deposits. But in terms of monetary policy, that of course, if we, for example, right now, if we were to imagine that some of the savings, even if they're small amounts and not for saving purposes, but for payments, are not on bank accounts, but are on digital wallets, there would be more of a competition for deposits in the banks, and banks would probably be more incentivized to increase deposit rates and sort of fight for additional customers and deposits. So in that sense, it may have implications also for monetary policy.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting actually to see that banks in general, you know, when they were faced with all the fintechs and neo-banks and so on, they were quite dismissive, like, you know, we are not competing with them, they're not our competition. But, you know, when, you know, central banks comes with this idea, introducing digital currency, they all of a sudden, they feel threatened. It's, at least that was my impression. I don't know. Yeah, Governor Vujčić.
May I just add one thing that I have not said to what we already said is, at this table we are central bankers. We do work on the design of the digital euro as the ECB, but those that make decisions are not around this table. That should be kept in mind, because the regulation will be proposed by the Commission, adopted by the European Parliament, like everything, and what's in the regulation is what we work with. I usually in Croatia explain, because they always call me regulator. I say, well, I'm not a regulator, I'm the one that basically makes sure that the regulation that has been adopted by the Parliament has been implemented. And I just want to make that sure that people understand what we are talking about when we talk about also this piece of regulation.
Yeah, please.
Rightfully and justifiable, the banks are worried that their profits will be affected. But, and we have to make sure that, you know, find some solution from that. But technology is not so kind. It's disruptive technology. The way we go forward and increase our productivity in the future, you know, has no such respect. Travel agents have almost disappeared. Photographic shops who used to come and take our photo and we take the film to them and so on are things of the past. So if we had let the distributed ledger technology take over, I mean, they would have done away with the banks and perhaps even with central banks. The point is, at the bottom of it, I mean, we vote and install governments for law and order, amongst other things. And we need financial stability. We need price stability. I mean, these are still there. And therefore, there must be a higher reason why you need to regulate and control the technology for a better end. Otherwise, we should not interfere. Technology is the way we can develop and increase our incomes and modernize and develop over time.
Yeah, please.
How I see this discussion twisted is that is financial market is V1, like so to say, at the loser end of a digital euro project, but that's where I disagree to think in that way, because as in any other big, huge public project, there are gains, there are losses for any kind of parties, but we should sum up everything, and we should kind of make this overall judgment, because digital euro is for everyone. And how can you measure such important things as enhanced resilience, enhanced financial stability, improvement of payment possibilities for society, for customers, and all other things? Having said this, digital euro project is not implemented in vacuum. So the public, the academia, the financial industry, the society, and all other parties are consulted, and the public project progress reports are published. So everyone is capable to provide his thinking into the so to say, into the role thinking about the project and in development of it. So even if we here talk more about like views of the financial industry, I would say that overall the same financial industry benefits from the project, even if it will change business model or might change a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be a loser in the end. And eventually, I very much agree what Madis has said. We should also think from the counterfactual perspective. And that's very important, because the payment industry is changing. Still, cash is the king, but cash proportion is diminishing. So the balance between private money and central bank money is changing towards more private money. And this does not bring stability to the system. It's vice versa. The trust of public is less into the private money, and there's going to be, if this continues without this CBDC or digital central bank money, we would have more volatility in our financial systems. And this, of course, will have cost, not only for society, but also for the same financial industry as well.
Well, thank you. Now, when we talk about how the digital euro would look like, and what we would like to stress, we often talk about, okay, so we want to stress privacy, we want to stress security and resilience, we want to stress the user experience, and it seems a lot of times it seems like an impossible triangle. You cannot have all of them. So there's a lot of concessions and compromises that need to be. So for example, so if you want more safety and resilience, you should sacrifice some privacy. So what's your take on that? So what is the most, where shouldn't we compromise, and where could we compromise? Yeah, Governor Vujčić.
I think when we think about that, you're absolutely right. There must be a compromise between the privacy and in first place prevention of the fraud, AML, things that we also have to have in place. But the way to think about it, I think, is the following. At the moment, there's no such privacy of which we are talking about when we talk about the digital euro. There's much less now than it will be with the digital euro, most probably. So we are moving forward to a better place, because we are confining our transactions and data to the public institutions, which take care of not only of the GDPR, but also of all highest standards of the protection of the data and much more easily, I think, held liable for that than at the moment when the private companies have all this data, and we actually have less control over it than we will have for the digital euro transactions. So it's like one who worries about the privacy with the digital euro should first worry about the privacy with the current payment methods and systems there where the data are and how they are used. So there will be never a full privacy, let's be honest about that, if we want to have all other things in place, like, as we said, fraud prevention or AML, but we will move with the digital euro to a better place than we are at the moment.
Thank you. Governor Šimkus, you wanted to add something?
Well, the way you pose the question, I think my first reaction, let's just not to overcomplicate the thing. I mean, there are many details, many features, specificities, and wishes, and but everything, not everything, but I mean, if you put everything into the system, it can be easily, maybe not that easy, in fact, but still solved out. I think, first of all, we need to think about what are those very important features that digital euro should have. So I believe that digital euro is the success if it is offline, because it's, in a way, then it's like supplementary or another form of cash. European citizens, almost 50% of them, they find privacy one of the most important features of the digital euro to be implemented. And this is another feature of cash, right? Okay, let's talk about privacy. If the digital euro will be handled by the private industry, by financial market participants, and this ECB euro system provides this back-end service or infrastructure. So banks, industry, private industry have, I would say, efficient solutions when onboarding the clients, and they perform their due diligence on all of things. So one problem is solved, because privacy, of course, is very much related with the anti-money laundering and terrorist financing prevention things. Second, we have already talked about the limited amount. So from the money laundering prevention, I mean, this is already like risk diminishing thing. And then the euro system is, and also the financial service providers will be retained from collecting the information. So basically, all those things that might be scaring or might be, so to say, somehow related with various conspiracy theories can be solved if you calmly and, so to say, slowly think about them and you implement them. So my say on this would be that there are very important things, but we should not exaggerate and put this into, so to say, into very, very hasty, problematic way not to be solvable. Everything is solvable. So we just need to think and make it.
Scicluna.
I think, like Gediminas, we should keep certain principles really in mind and looking rather than, to guide us. I think public authorities, like the government, should get in where there is an obvious market failure, and the private sector. I mean, the cryptocurrencies and the stable so-called coins and so on made a mess of financial stability, and also where it came to illicit activities and so on. So there are areas where the central bank should move in, but there are other areas where it doesn't need to. There should be competition, let the technology So these are the guiding principles, where you should move in and where you shouldn't, and let the market comes up with its innovativeness on a daily basis, like we do with smartphones and so on. All those apps did not exist from the beginning. There were only a handful. Then with time, every day, and you are surprised, pleasantly surprised with the amount of innovativeness, especially where health is concerned and sports and whatever area they go in. That's the market, There's no need to get into and compete with the market where you don't need to. But keep, the regulation and financial stability, and also then, which is another important element, is also price stability and control of the economy as well.
I just would like to add that I fully agree with Boris that I'm pretty sure that the digital euro, in terms of privacy, will be much better product than we do have now. But despite of that fact, I'm afraid that this will be the most difficult part. Why? Because we will face, or we are facing, the biases and these biases are channeled or connected to the people, residents, or to the states, and simply the people, they prefer to share the data with private companies to state authorities, So and that's a problem, and still we were not, the subject of attack of political circles, So this project is politically neutral so far, in my view. But we look at the rising wave of anti-politics in Europe, and far right, and all these issues can be involved, So nationalism and other issues, So it's here the communication. It's pretty important for us, for the Commission, and the credibility of the European institutions. So altogether, and the communication will be critical here.
Governor Vasle.
Just to add one principle to this debate on privacy, security. Now, one of our main goals is to ensure a level playing field. That means if we are controlling for something today, then we'll do the same, we'll apply the same practice tomorrow with digital euro. So in this regard, digital euro project will not bring much novelty. It will just be, as I said, level playing field for this area as well.
Thank you. Since we're nearing the end of our allocated time, before I would open the floor for a few questions, maybe just address a couple of country-specific countries. Don't go through all of them, but maybe a few of them. We mentioned earlier Governor Vujčić. So Croatia adopted the euro on the 1st of January of this year, and it became the 20th member of the Eurozone. So being relatively newcomer to the digital euro project, how do you see the work done on the digital euro, and what are the associated challenges and opportunities having such a unique position, so being a newcomer?
Yeah, we were not there, as you said, when it was decided to launch the project, but we came in early enough when the key questions were posed on how to develop the project. So I would say we are there since the phase when we started to answer to many of the questions that were actually discussed here today. We see ourselves as a part of that long-term project. One has to have in mind it's not something short. It lasts. And it will last for years to come, and we will, on one hand, try to enable seamless as possible implementation of the project in Croatia, which also means that all the stakeholders should be informed properly and brought on board of the project. And in that sense, we talk to, on one hand, the government, on the other hand, the banks, which are very important and which are under our remit, but also try to explain, as you do with this conference, to the public what it is and what to expect from the digital euro. I have, you see, a very nice website presentation where we answer many of these sections. We have a special section on the digital euro to communicate to the public, and very basically try to explain all these things also that have been discussed here today.
Well, thank you. Governor Scicluna, coming from Malta, which is the only island here, yeah. But in this panel, right? So does the specific geography of Malta impact the aspects of the digital euro to which you are devoting most of the focus? What are, in your view, the most prominent features of the digital euro that could ensure the widespread adoption of it in Malta and euro in general, euro area in general?
Well, as you said, an island state with no resources that had to, think fast and try to attract investment. And in the past, it did by understanding the industry and try to provide a regulatory platform specific for them. I mean, you can't use the same regulatory framework you use for other products. So that's how we attracted, for example, the so-called iGaming, which is now the biggest cluster in the world is there, situated in the island, Swedish and you name it, and also from the Eastern countries. And going back, we thought about proposing to the UN about the law of the sea, that it's common to all mankind and is now set up and established. Believe it or not, Malta was the one which brought the idea that climate is of concern of mankind, and it should be, brought a resolution that the UN should start working, and it was Malta. Then, of course, being limited resources, you won't be able to handle the whole global discussion on that, and as you know, now it's a much bigger issue. So, the same for digital currency. They want, the cryptocurrencies were not regulated at all. They were cowboys and going around saying that they are here and there. And there was a time when the whole summits were being held in Malta, 10,000 innovators coming down there. But then, of course, you have to weigh that against once this area, unlike the other sectors, touched on that can, that can be used by illicit organizations and so on. Then that's a very delicate thing, and you don't want your reputation to be touched. So we had to cool down on that. So it's really ironic, as you said, a state which has the highest use of currency, of cash, at the same time being on the frontier where it comes to gaming and digital currencies and so on. But that's how the world works.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe going back to the Baltics, I apologize if I take you as a package, but how is seen, so like Estonia is seen as the poster child for everything digital, especially in terms of government and everything. On the other hand, for example, Lithuania, known as a paradise for fintechs in Europe. So it seems like, everything, also digital payments, they just work. So we've touched this a little bit, but could you elaborate a little bit more on this?
Well, the digital euro would arrive in Estonia certainly at the same time as it would arrive in all other countries here. When it comes to digital payments, well, what I can say for perhaps where we have made better progress right now is with these instant payments. We know that in a couple of years' time that should be the standard for all throughout the euro area, but in our case now, according to the latest statistics, about 85% of domestic payments are done instantly. So banks have done a good job, in my view, in the sense that this is really the new normal now. I'm only hoping that maybe that will free up some resources for them to now deal with the digital euro and related developments and with getting the attention on bringing to the market new services as they are not anymore in a need to focus the resources on this instant payment issue that perhaps some other banks are still working on. But of course we are yet to see how it will turn out.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. You're right. Lithuania has very vivid fintech industry, and thinking about it from the digital euro perspective, I think digital euro is laying foundations for fintech industry, for it to be able to develop innovative solutions with truly European scope to provide new services to their customers. So I think this is a window of opportunity for financial industry as well. Getting back more to be citizens of Lithuania. So cash is still the king in my country, and yes, and I think I was very much concur what Edward has said, that we have very active fintech industry, and at the same time a lot of people still use cash, and especially in the regional areas. I would say that if the digital euro finally will have these specific cash-like features in digital form, this would supplement very much the needs of the people, so to say, in the regions of Lithuania, which prefer, and we very clearly see that Lithuanians prefer privacy as an important feature. So these people will be able to use cash-like industry, cash-like means of payment, just in the digital form. So many possibilities, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Now, before we completely run out of time, so it was mentioned earlier, we are all central bankers here, and as you said, it's hard to disagree between us. So maybe there's someone in the public who will disagree or have a question for our distinguished panel. So there was a hand there.
Thank you very much. My name is Kayesh. I'm here on behalf of the United States Embassy, and I just wanted to ask the distinguished panelists today regarding the international accessibility of the digital euro. So should we be concerned in terms of transaction costs that would be imposed on non-European entities and non-European buyers and citizens when doing business with Europeans, where those Europeans would be in any way, I'm not saying restricted from, but inconvenienced when attempting to transact using digital euro debits with extra-European entities. So will those extra-European entities and individuals be able to hold digital euro and use it as European entities and individuals would?
Would like to tackle this one? Anyone?
But the easy thing is to open the account with a European bank and do it.
Yeah. But it will be optional, you know, and unless it's competitive and least cost and so on, then you go out and opt for another means. So.
Yeah, maybe just a general answer. It's not our intention at this stage to disadvantage anybody to open an account and to hold digital euros.
I must agree also that I haven't noticed any attempt to impose any obstacle, to international payments. So that means to be sovereign doesn't mean automatically to be against somebody or something, So I would take it as a neutral.
I think the question raised is a difficult one, in fact, and it's very important. And we began with saying that there are more than 100 different countries, some of them in Africa and Caribbean already having been implemented CBDCs. But and the main reasoning for them was financial inclusion in their specific jurisdictions. But when we consider such jurisdictions as Euro area, the US, China, and all and other big, so to say, areas or countries, this interoperability of the e-currencies becomes very important. And I think now we more or less focused on our primary, so to say, target. So what it should look like, how it should exist, how it should be implemented. But in parallel, this interoperability of CBDCs, CBDC to CBDC, especially the big ones, it's the major question. It's a very important question, and it's still to be set up.
Maybe if I just want to say that the IMF is doing a lot of research on this and bringing, every annual meeting central bankers from all over the world and finance ministers, and they are discussing this topic because it's in their interest that transactions will not just be domestic but help international trade.
I thought it's an excellent question, and as you probably saw from our faces, we haven't really, at least in this circle, discussed it very thoroughly. But I think a practical issue there is that the idea is that those digital wallets would be provided to the general public through payment service providers who still need to meet some know your customer and anti-money laundering requirements. So it's not that easy to hand out the wallets to just anyone who is visiting for a week. But I think it's something that, first of all, needs to be tackled somehow. And secondly, it's important to also understand that we're not really disincentivizing any other means of payment that will still be there. It's just that will be, the digital euro will just be an additional alternative. It's probably easier to introduce it first to euro area citizens, but I think we probably at the end need to take a step further and go beyond that.
Thank you. We have another question maybe? No? Oh, there's a hand.
Hi, my name is Anya. I'm on behalf here of the European Crypto Initiative. My question to you would be regarding the latest news we heard from the ECB. There is a call for wholesale CBDCs, and apparently there's also some news that they might be again looking into the distributed ledger technologies. So I wonder if any of you has any opinion around that technology being used. Thank you.
Well, I can try. I think the short answer is that on the technology, we haven't really decided on the technology yet. At this stage, there are a number of alternatives on the table. It might be an account-based solution or a token-based or digital ledger or not. And that's one of the questions that need to be tackled at the later stage. But when it comes to the wholesale digital euro for example, security settlements and related areas, I think that actually is also a very promising project that is running sort of in parallel to what we have been discussing today. So today the focus was very much on the retail payments option offered by digital euro, and that's where the main focus also right now is for the ECB, but there's a parallel track also on the wholesale CBDC, on which I guess we could have another seminar maybe in about 2 years or so, huh?
Then anyone would like to add something? If not, maybe is there another question? Maybe.
Hi, thank you. I'm here from a law firm in Slovenia, and I actually have a question, 2 questions. If I understand the concept as it is now, the account that you would have would be essentially sort of like a top-up account where you have a certain amount of digital euros that, you know, would not be used as a holding account. And the second point, is there any discussion about how this could affect existing projects in terms of stable coins? So I know a couple of commercial banks are really heavily investing into those projects. And as I understand, like euro stable coins would probably still function as an investment sort of product, whereas digital euro would be payment only. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I get that. Well, exactly. I mean, the digital euro is not envisaged as a kind of investment savings vehicle, but as a payment one. And the rest, I mean, people can invest in whatever they want to. They have to be careful where they put their money and read newspapers, see what's going on. But yeah, it does not affect the efforts of the others.
Oh, thank you. Well, since we're at the end of the time, maybe if any one of you or all of you would just like to add a final statement, starting there, Governor Vasle.
Yeah, thank you. So my main message actually from today discussion is that we must remain realistic, that maybe at the beginning of the project there were great ideas on the extent of the project, on the timing, but now we are back into more realistic waters, and as we explained, we investigated a lot of options. Not everything is under our control, so let's wait and see what the legislation will bring to us, and then we will definitely react to this legislation and provide optimal solution.
Governor Vujčić. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's a nice, huge project that we embarked on. It will take some years. We will take care of all the things that have been said today, concerns that we've heard about. And now I think that the next stage is a lot about the implementation, features, technology, and as I usually say, there is no problem within the realm of possibility that the good engineer will not solve. So I'm quite optimistic on that one.
If to pick up one thing, to finalize, I would say that digital euro is supplementary means of payment, not a replacing means of payment, not a replacing of any other means of payment, including cash. It's a possibility to have wider means of payment, and it's alternative. But as I said, not a replacement, not a substitute. So that's very important to understand, and then it helps to stay open-minded to new possibilities.
After many years of innovation and technology in this area of fintech, the central bank as a regulator and similar regulators have been hands-off, just let them develop and see what they come up with. But now I think the time has come for the central bank to take then the bull by the horns and seriously propose some important standards in this way. But having done that, as a central bank, but as any serious regulator, one has to tread cautiously and prudently. So have to be patient to come up, finally with the implementation of the project.
I think first we should realize that there's still some way to go until we actually can have a digital euro, and until at the ECB we can decide that there will be digital euro issued. There are still many open questions that still need to be addressed. But now, having been thinking about it now for a number of months already, personally I have to say increasingly I believe that there is a useful function that digital euro can really fulfill, but I also realized that there's a lot of explaining to do still to the general public, and even today we saw that it takes 6 governors to give you at least some basics about what we're talking about, so it's not easy.
Thank you. Last word for me, so it's for me the digital euro is nothing more and nothing less than the freedom. It would be simple, be easy. This project is not defensive, is not offensive. It's just vision which could be materialized because we do trust in better future, I hope.
Okay. Thank you, respected governors, for all the good insights, and thank you, public, for your attention and the good questions. So I just wish you a nice day and hope that, just as me, you are looking forward to what is about to come regarding digital euro. So